Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Together with my colleague Moritz from Stakeholder Reporting in Hamburg, today we would like to talk about sustainability reporting, or more specifically, how it is possible to provide a central digital resource for ESG information. Unfortunately, Sebastian from Stakeholder Reporting got sick this morning, so he won't be able to participate today. So Sebastian, if you see this right now, get well soon. Apart from that, I'd like to thank all of you for joining right now. We are more than happy with the big interest and far more than 100 registrations. Now let me give a quick overview on what we are covering today. First of all, we will very briefly say something about the partnership between Stakeholder Reporting and Nexa and how we work together as agencies. Afterwards, Moritz will give an introduction to the current requirements of ESG reporting, before I will follow with some words about the digital shift in the reporting industry. Then we really get into the details with best practice examples from 3 of our clients, all showcasing a lot of the things we will have discussed before. Finally, Moritz again will give an outlook on where digital sustainability reporting might be heading in the future. And of course, in the end, we have lots of time for an open discussion, answering all your questions. And by the way, we are recording this webinar and will provide the link to the recording as soon as it is available. But before we start, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. My name is Frederick, and I'm a project manager here at Nexa and also part of our marketing team. Here with me today is Eloy, our CEO. He will take part in the discussion in the end. Now over to you, Moritz.
Thank you, Freddie. Very happy to be here. My name is Moritz Sckaer. I'm a director for sustainability management and business development at Stakeholder Reporting. As mentioned by Freddie in the introduction, sadly, Sebastian, our director for reporting, is sick today, but I'll try to cover the topics as well as I can. And would like to dive right in to introducing our partnership between Stakeholder Reporting and Nexa. Nexa and Stakeholder Reporting have been working together for several years with different clients. You see a sample selection down at the bottom, and we're going to dive deeper into these cases. But we don't just work together on several different digital reporting clients. We also work together in regular internal workshops. For example, Sebastian and I are going to Vienna next week to work together on product development. We work as one team with different experts towards the customer, but very close coordination in the background between us as sustainability reporting consultants and Nexa as digital reporting experts. And this makes us really efficient in our cooperation because we know each other's processes. We know how Stakeholder Reporting does research. Nexa knows how we do this, and we know the tools from Nexa for example, for content management really well. On the next slide, I'm just going to give a quick overview of who we are at Stakeholder Reporting. If you don't know us, we are experts for sustainability reporting with over 350 sustainability reports published over the last 20 years, which makes us one of the largest sustainability-focused consultancies and longest running in Germany. We've received multiple international reporting awards, among them the Econ Award for the Merck report that we do together with Nexa for several years now, and the German Digital Communications Award for Deutsche Telekom. We don't just work in sustainability reporting, but we come from sustainability reporting. But just as sustainability reporting grew, our expertise grew. We work more in climate and data management with developing climate strategies and helping companies with ESG data management. We work in developing ESG and sustainability strategies, sustainability materiality, which is the baseline for any sustainability report, consulting on investor relations and sustainable finance, as well as supply chain management. And we have 45 plus corporate sustainability specialists growing rapidly. I think today we could already put 50 plus on this slide. So we work together with Nexa really closely, as I said, all our hearts beat for reporting, and we kind of are the experts for the content of the report and the processes in gathering this content. And over to you, Freddie.
Yeah, and we are responsible for the creative and digital part of each project. So we are actually right now the leading agency in the DAX 40, implementing most reports there. And since our foundation in 2003, we already published more than 600 online reports, and among those, already more than 200 sustainability reports, which are all online right now. And what is special about us as a digital reporting agency is that we are really focused on digital reporting and do nothing else. And all our more than 60 online reporting and digital specialists are really in-house, so we don't really work with external workforce. So yeah, that's of course is good for efficiency and for communication internally as well as externally.
Let me give a brief introduction into ESG reporting. A lot of the experts on this call will know a lot of the things that I'm talking about. So it's kind of a review and a better understanding of how sustainability reporting has developed over the last century. We start with 10 years ago, the general public being the most addressed stakeholder, with standards such as GRI, the German Sustainability Codex, or the UN Global Compact. And then over the last 5-6 years, the general public was still a significant stakeholder, with still sustainability reporting being marketing driven and a very important communications format, but also increasingly regulators, investors, and business partners got interested in the sustainability performance of companies. And as you can see, several other standards or frameworks such as IIRC for integrated reporting, the SDGs have been added by the UN, or the Carbon Disclosure Project, now CDP, and we are looking at more and more regulation, such as the German Directive for Sustainability Reporting, CSRWOG. ESG ratings have gained an increasing significance for capital markets. And we arrive today at an even more cluttered and just very long list of different short handles that we have in sustainability reporting. We are looking at standard convergence, so all these standards that have been built up over the years. There's a strong push for example, single European standards, and standard givers really pulling together their different frameworks. But also on the regulation side, we've seen huge developments with an updated Sustainability Reporting Directive, the CSRD, which is going to take effect over the next 2 years, the EU taxonomy, which has already taken effect for this reporting year, and several other legislation that has been discussed this year, and also an increased importance of assurance, as most companies on this call will already have discussed internally that there's significant demands into the direction of limited and reasonable assurance. Not mandatory right now, but coming up. So we see that sustainability reporting has really grown from a more image, public-focused communication to a very capital market and management-focused communication format, with a lot of legal regulation and demands on this publication. A sustainability report basically fulfills 4 roles, and the first one is to tell the equity story. We need to understand that ESG information is a core business issue and must be communicated as such. That's the first and major role that a sustainability report has. Then a sustainability report also fulfills the role to measure and quantify sustainability performance in a company. In the report, you are forced into a clear communication on how has your bottom line in ESG information and data developed, what are your risks and your opportunities regarding sustainability. The third step is that you can navigate standards and regulations. A sustainability report is uniquely able, especially a digital sustainability report, is uniquely able to provide standards and frameworks because of the scope of information that is involved and the way that you can cross-reference certain standards, such as the Global Reporting Initiative or SASB standards throughout the whole report without too much trouble and without cluttering it up too much. And ultimately, the goal is to reach the target group and to get the information to the right target groups, and also all the information that these targets group need, which we will look further into with the different cases that we brought, but also with the different information that stakeholders require today. So where's sustainability reporting heading? We see a really cluttered and large sustainability landscape just when it comes to the documents that are being published. There's the annual report with sustainability information. Sometimes there's a separate non-financial report outside of the annual report. We have a sustainability report. We have a SASB report. We see corporate websites with sustainability information, separate green bond reports, TCFD reports, CDP reports. I could go on, a lot of different reports. So how do you navigate this? When we narrow down sustainability information, the major sustainability information and the best overview is given in a non-financial report and the sustainability report. But we see a strong push towards annual reporting, which means that we see a lot of information that is going into the annual report from the sustainability report and from the non-financial report. And as companies try to integrate 40 to 50 pages of non-financial report or 100 to 200 pages of sustainability report into the annual report, those annual reports sometimes get bloated up to close to 400 pages, which we view as integration hell and don't see as the best solution for integration, and actually not the primary role of the annual report to address all sustainability information, but to address the most significant elemental for the business case, and all the other information be addressed outside of the annual report in a specified ESG resource, which I'll speak to later a little bit. And all this resource needs to be, in our mind, digital and connected and very freely available. And with this, I would like to hand over to Freddie to tell us a little bit about the unique position that digital reports are in.
Yeah, thanks, Moritz. Now, before we will show some best practice examples for digital ESG information, I'd like to give some insights about the digital shift, which is actually happening right now in the corporate reporting industry. So first of all, please ask yourself the following: is your current report or your reporting solution already future-proof? And let me give you a quick spoiler here. If you only provide your stakeholders with a PDF, then it's definitely not. And here's why. Because while most companies still only publish a PDF of their report online, fact is that most stakeholders use reporting content already on the screen. So as you can see here on the left side, in recent years, the turnaround from print to online has become clearly evident. And research by Vienna University of Economics and Business shows that within just 10 years, the print runs of the biggest stock-listed companies in Germany have declined rapidly, namely, for instance, by 94% for the DAX 30 between 2009 and 2019. And studies also say, you can see that on the right, that the target groups of annual reports are using the content mostly online. 88% of capital market shareholders, stakeholders, for example, read reporting content on a screen, and 2/3 of them sometimes even do that on mobile devices. And developments like these are not very surprising because our information needs just have changed. And today we want information instantly, regardless of where we are. So as you can see, digital reporting is on the rise and still getting more and more important. And of course, there are a lot of reasons why that's the case, but in our experience, there are 10 factors being most important. So let me just very briefly go through those. First of all, only online reports are really made for screen, and that goes hand in hand with the second reason, the responsivity, because the usage of mobile internet is steadily increasing. But only digital reports are fully responsive. For example, they automatically adjust their layout to the available device size without the need for an additional mobile version. And they also offer mobile optimized navigation and search tools. Apart from that, it is possible to get detailed usage data and statistics, and every page of your report is searchable via Google. A PDF, in contrast, is only indexed once, so that's pretty important. Of course, in online reports, users do profit from lots of interactivity and connectivity between different pages, and also the increased findability of relevant contents. Moving images make content more appealing and can be real eye catchers. The non-linearity of an online report is also worth mentioning, as a PDF report's linear thinking simply does not fit in with the user's interest-based decisions of where to continue reading. Just because a PDF presents all its content in one document and in one row. And last but not least, also taking a look at XBRL, HTML reports are future ready, as HTML is, unlike the PDF, a non-proprietary document standard. XBRL, for example, cannot be integrated in a PDF, but it can be provided in HTML reports, for example, as a download file. So taking a look at the new EU directives, this will be also important for non-financial information. So with all that information, we would now like to show you some best practice examples from our clients, visualizing a lot of what we have discussed so far. So right now I'm quickly changing into my browser, and I'd like to start with the case of Greiner. Here we have a sustainability report with storytelling, and it's actually the first sustainability report of Greiner, an Austrian company manufacturing plastic. In the magazine, they really focus on time running out when it comes to climate change. So the future lies in our hands, and therefore they ask, if not us, who? As you can see already here in the hero section, the design approach is super bold, and we have a magazine focusing on tipping points, the Paris Agreement, pollution, and waste. As you can see right now, we have lots of big pictures going on. We have a very emotional approach and also a very emotional description of the topics. And all of this is really engaging for the user and a great way just of getting them involved. So if I scroll through here, maybe I can just stop right here and click on the Read More button and then I get to the waste section of the report. So what is interesting here as a start is that Greiner did photo shootings with the workforce all over the world with a strong focus on authenticity. So everyone you see here and throughout the whole report is a part of Greiner. So the whole report really reflects their authentic approach. And we also have a very online specific design. We have big text boxes and key figures and much more. But what I'd like to show you right now is the GI backlinking feature, which you have here in the bottom of the page. So every single web page is tagged with the corresponding GI standard. And if I click right here, and if I'm, for example, interested in GI 3061, I get to the GI index. And here you can see the whole GI table with all the standard listed. And again, we have direct links to the corresponding web pages. So if I'm, for example, still interested in GI 3061 and want to continue reading, I can directly get to another page dealing with that topic, just for example, end-of-life products. Here again, we have the very authentic workforce photography, online specific design, big text boxes, and so on. But there's two more things I'd like to show you right now. The first one is our layover glossary we have used here. And this is really a neat feature because if you want to find out more about circular economy or the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, you don't have to scroll through the whole PDF or search for that words. You can just click here and then get all the information you need about that. And last but not least, I'd also point out this sticky more button in the bottom left. As you can see here, it sticks right there wherever you are. And if you click here, you get following pages, which might be interesting based on the current page you are on. So as you can see, everything is about connecting content, about relevant links, orientations, about breaking down in the end a very complex report and making it easy for the user to find what he or she is looking for. Now let me switch to the second case I'll briefly discuss. This is the Shell Sustainability Report 2020, which you can see right now. I'll just navigate to the business model because that's pretty interesting and a good best practice example here. So as you know, normally business models are very complex and described by a lot of text with lots of information for the user to process. But in this case, Shell achieved to break down very complex matters into visually appealing and easy to understand interactive infographic. And this is, of course, making it much more engaging. And as you can see, users can explore the model bit by bit and get more information on every click. And two last things I'd like to show you for the Shell case. The first one being the change report layer, which you can access via click here. So this is just a very convenient way of changing between the latest relevant reports with a short click, as you can see here. So you can click just here and get directly to the current and latest annual report. But what for today is even more interesting is Shell's reporting hub. So this is located here, and if I click on that, we really get into a kind of hub again. And yeah, we have a central hub with all relevant information, and you can access all current reports, data sheets, the strategy, for example, and much more. And this is actually where ESG information might be heading in the future. So that's something very interesting. Now, let me hand over to Moritz, who will give some insights about how Daimler created an engaging sustainability report.
I hope everyone can hear me. Great, and I hope you can see my screen. For the Daimler Sustainability Report and the Merck report, just let me highlight a few things that are coming more from a sustainability content and management perspective. As Freddie just showed, a lot of the digital possibilities of the website reports. So here you can see the cover of the Daimler Sustainability Report 2020, and the main theme, as in the year before, is Spurwechsel, which in German translates to changing lanes. So I would like to direct your attention to the navigation system up here, where we split the logic into three separate topics, basically changing lanes as the overall strategic and image approach, reporting with a detailed listing of the Daimler sustainability strategy fields of action, and the appendix, which with all additional data such as key figures, CO2 calculations, the auditor report, etc. For changing lanes, we worked with this icon of that symbolizes changing lanes, and took from that a general representation of what does it mean for Daimler to switch its business model to go from combustion engine to electric cars. And for this, we visualized also together with Nexa, how can we showcase how this business model is switching lanes and what are some key figures in there. So 45,000 employees, for example, is a number that you can then click on in this interactive view and understand that this is the number of employees who've been trained with electric mobility training. So this is a part of Daimler changing its lane. Another topic that I find great in these digital reports, when really the consulting and the digital reporting come together, you can see, for example, in the chapter for compliance management, you can see up here are different tags that correlate to this content. such as corporate governance, compliance, or business ethics. For example, if I choose corporate governance, I am shown all the different chapters within the sustainability report that correlate to the topic of corporate governance. But not just that, together with Nexa, we discuss what filters can be set. And if you combine these different filters, for example, corporate governance and raw materials, you get something like partnerships, where we go into a partnership of Daimler regarding raw material consumption and safeguarding human rights. So this is something that I wanted to highlight within the Daimler report, these different tools and how sustainability management and content goes together with different design solutions. Within the Merck sustainability report that I would like to show you now, we have some other interesting features that we developed and discussed with Merck and together with Nexa implemented. One such example, I'm scrolling down here, is the topic, the theme under this, which the sustainability report was focused on, all eyes on sustainability. So if you click here on find out more, you can see a little gimmick that the eye is following basically the human hand, and it kind of brings this message across in a more emotional and clear way to the consumer. But not just that, we kind of took a quick history through sustainability at Merck, and then also look into the crystal ball, just like we're looking into the future of sustainability reporting. Here we explored some different scenarios, such as resources becoming scarce, a new Cold War breaking out, or technology dictating our lives, and explored this. What if this happens in 2040? What does that mean for sustainability? What does that mean for Merck? Another interesting example where you can see that kind of standards and frameworks, sustainability management, but also communication come together is within the SDG tool that we have developed together with Nexa for Merck, where you can see which are the highlighted SDGs, and then, for example, those are the SDGs that Merck has the most significant impact on, and then within these highlighted SDGs you have focused SDGs in which you can find additional information for the different various SDG sub-targets and how the business model of Merck plays into these. So I think this is a good example of how communication, digital communication, and sustainability management can go together to provide a good overview of a very, very complex matter, such as an SDG impact analysis. To wrap things up, a quick outlook. Where do we think sustainability reporting is heading? So this slide is going to become very cluttered, but try to bear with me. Right now, we're looking at a corporate ESG information landscape right here. So a lot of information is within this corporate ESG information landscape. Some of this information is mandatory, essential ESG information and data. This information has to go into the annual report, and it's going to be increasingly demanded by regulators to supply more and more detailed information. This includes some aspects of the materiality analysis, management approaches, governance and sustainability strategy, the sustainability program with goals and remuneration targets for the board of management, and some selected environmental and social data that the company determines as very material. So all these information need to go into the annual report from our view. But here you can see we said it's only some select information from that, because there's much more information you can give on environmental and social data that cannot all fit into the annual report, because it's not all mandated or because it's not all the very most crucial information. So a lot of other information still needs a place, like more detailed environmental and social data, more details on the sustainability program, a very long form sustainability program that might go over several pages on a website, or a detailed description of the materiality process and how you've come to these conclusions. But there's further information that in our mind does not go into the annual report, but needs to go into a digital sustainability report, which becomes the central ESG resource, and that's some highlights of projects and measures that the company is executing. A good example Freddie just showed of pictures of the employees and some highlights of projects that they're working on towards sustainability. Detailed ESG ratings information and data that is certainly being demanded by capital markets increasingly now. Standards and frameworks such as GRI or SASB, TCFD that need to be addressed, but cannot all be addressed in the annual report, because I think if you go to your accounting responsibilities and say we're going to tag GRI through the whole annual report and SASB, they're going to say that that's not what the annual report is for. Also, a sustainability-focused CEO letter is something that you can implement into the sustainability report that you don't have typically in an annual report. Even if the annual report increasingly, the CEO letter in the annual report increasingly mentions sustainability topics, it's still not such an internal steering mechanism as the sustainability-focused CEO letter. Also, you can engage in storytelling and employee engagement, as I just mentioned earlier, some more employee internally focused initiatives, because as a study that Nexa has done with the University of Vienna showed, a lot of employees actually are a major reader of the different reports, and also some details on corporate citizenship. This is not extensive. There's certainly other stuff that we might can come up with in the discussion following this, but it just goes to show that some of the very, very crucial, mandatory, essential sustainability information needs to go into the annual report, but not all, and thus you need to have a central digital ESG resource, which we think the best solution right now is a comprehensive and clear digital sustainability report, like some of the cases we just explored. And with this, I would like to open up for discussion. If there's any questions, please feel free to write them into the field that you can write them into. Maybe you can say something to how this works, Freddie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just hand over to my colleague Ivana. She's also a project manager here and Nexa, and she'll handle the discussion questions right now. So Ivana.
Yeah, hi, I will forward the questions from the audience to our experts. The first question is, do you expect a turnaround in the quantity of sustainability standards, meaning there will be only 2 or 3 really relevant standards in the future, or will they get more and more?
That's a tough question already to start with, but I think it's a very relevant one, and I'm going to take this because it's mostly focused on sustainability management, not digital communication. But please feel free to ask about the digital tools, to ask about some sustainability management aspects, some of the things you saw in our cases. So sustainability standards have been growing and growing, as I just showed, but we also see a convergence with different standard givers really pulling together their different resources and forming new alliances, or voicing the intention of going together. And also with the EU starting to develop an overall European reporting standard, we see a push by regulators to kind of provide a clear-cut standard that then can be rolled out to all companies, at least within Europe. So there is a clear understanding by all standard givers that the landscape is much too broad right now, that there's way too many standards for companies to still keep an overview on, and to efficiently address also. I mean, behind every fulfilling of every standard is an analysis that takes resources. There's a publication of these standards that take resources. You need separate approvals of that. So a long time GRI was the de facto standard, but we see capital markets demanding more in the direction of SASB. We see the German government government demanding to the direction of the German Sustainability Code. We see the UN Global Compact, and all these are have their position and their validity in and of themselves. But standardization and pulling that together, we believe, will really be something that we see over the next 3 to 5 years, and hopefully come out at the end with a global, not just European, standard of sustainability reporting that everyone can orient themselves on, and that kind of pulls the advantages of a materiality and business focus approach of SASB, or a very broad focus of GRI, together, and kind of blends these different standards and frameworks together. I hope this answered the question a little bit, because it's very broad question.
Great, thank you. The next question is from Rebecca Hertgen. So do you see the future of sustainability reporting a standalone solution rather than inclusion in the annual report?
In summary, I think this is something that we can answer actually from both sides, from Nexa as well as from stakeholder reporting, because from a content and management side, the integrated report cannot replace the sustainability report, because the integrated report cannot be as large. It cannot cover all of these topics that we mentioned here, which would be a well-integrated annual report would cover all these mandatory and essential information, but all this other, these highlights projects, these standards and frameworks, all of that cannot fit in easily and intuitively into an integrated annual report. So we believe a central digital ESG resource will still need to be there. If this will forever be called a digital sustainability report is a little up in the air, but right now it is the best tool that we have to address the needs of all these other stakeholders. And I think it also becomes a usability issue when you push too much information, too much data into one single resource. But maybe Nexa, maybe you guys want to add something, Eloy or Freddie, to the topic of usability and integration.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I can totally agree with what you have said. In general, I think integrated reporting, of course, is on the rise. So with the CSR directive, it will be a bigger issue in future, and more companies will maybe go for integrated report. But still, they will need a place where they can put these detailed informations on standards. And maybe you call it digital sustainability report in future, but you can also call it like sustainability hub or something else. And you need to connect this information with the different standards. For example, you need a connection from the integrated report with your SASB index or with your TCFD index. And this cannot be done with a PDF from my perspective. You need an integrated digital report to connect these contents in future.
Okay, we have another question. Are you seeing any trends where information traditionally included in sustainability reports becomes part of the everyday corporate website instead?
From my perspective, clearly not. So because I'm strongly against putting reporting information on a corporate website, because the corporate website is also always a place of up-to-date information. Everything which is on the corporate website is up-to-date information. But a corporate report is always focused on a year. So it's for a specific timeline, for example, for the business year 2021. And you cannot make clear to stakeholders that this content is not up to date, but it's in your report. So you always need, from my perspective, microsites to publish report content. So that there was a clear distinction between the corporate website and the reporting content.
I agree 100%. I think it's one part is this annual reporting issue that you have, especially with data collection. when you have data in a report, you know that it's a cut-off date, and you know where that cut-off date is, and you also know what the assurance on this report is. You don't know what the assurance is on a corporate website because you don't get limited or reasonable assurance on the website. But even from a sustainability management perspective, having this microsite available for structuring your ESG data and having the different navigation systems that you can develop on a digital sustainability reporting website is something that you do not have on your corporate website. On your corporate website, there's an About Us in the company section, there's an investor relations, there's HR, jobs, there's all this different information that has some connection to sustainability, but it's not the true sustainability information. So even if as a company you decide in the first level that sustainability is going to be a navigation topic for you on the first layer, then you go down and then you have the second layer already, and you need to decide on what communication, which clusters, which topics am I going to communicate on the second layer, and how am I going to communicate about them? And then it becomes a very complex, very quickly navigation system with 3, 4, 5 layers needed to cover that, which you can initially easily cover in a digital sustainability report. So I think what Eloy says with reporting and data collection is really important. What I added on assurance is really important, but also from just how do you communicate your sustainability strategy and how much room do you have to make these complex interactions of 9 or 10 or 12 different fields of action easily consumable. You can't do that easily on a corporate website.
Okay, next we have a pretty straightforward question. How many companies are already publishing online reports?
Yeah, maybe let me take over here. So normally that's pretty tough to say, and of course there's no actual data about the globally amount of online reports, but there is in fact a recent study for German-speaking countries about that. So in Germany, for example, if I remember correctly, it's more than 50% of the big market-listed companies that do have some kind of online reporting solution. And I think in Switzerland it's even higher with around 70%. So that's what a recent study shows. But apart from that, it's always hard to give exact numbers. I don't know, Eloy, if you have something else about that. But I think, yeah, I think that's the latest study about the amount of online reporting right now. I hope that's fine as an answer. Sorry that we don't have any more information about that, but yeah, it's always hard to get the exact figures.
Okay, let's move to the next question. Do you have comparisons of user statistics between annual reports and sustainability reports? What was the development in previous years?
Yeah, so first of all, yes, we have data on this. So a few years ago, but it's more or less, I think, more than 4 or 5 years ago, we made a research on the biggest European companies, how many stakeholders or users are reaching their annual report and the sustainability report. And at that time, it was like the annual report in average of the biggest European companies reached about 40,000 users a year, and sustainability reports more or less about 15,000 a year of the huge stock listed companies in Europe. But from my feeling and also what I see from specific statistics, this is changing a bit in the last years. So sustainability information, also in a recent study we made with the University of Vienna, we see that sustainability information also in annual reports, but also in standalone sustainability reports is becoming more interesting for the users. And now we have some cases where we take care of the sustainability report and the annual report of a company, and the sustainability report has a higher usage than the annual report. So it's sometimes a bit different, and it's changing from my perspective.
Maybe I can add to that. This might be a little bit anecdotal, but a couple of months ago, we had a conversation with investor relations at a DAX company, large DAX company, and in the aftermath of their annual report publishing, which they aligned completely with the digital sustainability report as well. And they said that investors, major investors, actually contacted them and said the sustainability report and the information in the sustainability report is increasingly more interesting to us than actually reading the whole annual report, because the annual report is more or less focused backwards, but we invest into the future. So we want to understand where is this company heading in the future. And this is something that we cannot read out of the spreadsheets inside the annual report only, but we can see out of the strategy inside the annual report, or risks and opportunities. But how you understand the trends and the future, we can read out of the sustainability report. So I thought that was really interesting that actually large institutional investors are feedbacking investor relations, saying the sustainability report is becoming an equal, if not more important, publication than the annual report. Obviously, the financial numbers still trump all, but in determining investment into the future, the sustainability report is really, really pushing into focus now.
Okay, we have another question. Is a complete mobile phone version of sustainability reporting about to come? The trend is to snack also relevant content easy on the go, maybe through an app?
If I remember correctly, a couple of years ago, we actually did have an iPad app for our annual reports, but the usage numbers were just not that high for an iPad app, because in that case, you would have to download an app extra, and which is more convenient is just go to the website directly mobile. So an app might be the future, but right now not really the use case for that, because normally you can just go to the report with your normal browser and then open everything responsive. So I don't really see an app right now as the way to go, because then you would have to download the app for every report you're looking at. Sometimes you would have to compare different reports, and then you would have to download, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 apps at the same time. So I don't really see the use case for an app in the future, but probably there will be more and more mobile access.
Yeah, so absolutely. So from my perspective, the answer to this question is everything which is on the internet needs to be optimized for mobile devices in future. There was no way to change this. And if you want to have your information used, you need to optimize content for mobile devices. And maybe at the moment we see in statistics that the percentage of mobile use of a sustainability report is around 15% or maybe 20%. So it's not the majority, but still it is becoming more important. And you would never ask this question, for example, for a newspaper. Does a newspaper need a mobile device? Because it's clear. And in future, every information needs to be optimized for mobile. And that's also one reason why why the PDF as a static format will not be the future of corporate reporting.
And I think maybe, I don't know if you can still see my screen.
Yes.
Maybe to show how that actually works, for example, with the SDG tool, you can see that if we pull this together and go into kind of a more mobile-like view, it still just works with the sustainability report that we developed together with Nexa, and you can use it just as well on a phone and just have a different kind of view, but still have the same information, the same interactive information as on a widescreen website, which is or if we look at, for example, tablet. So I think just as Eloy said, the information needs to be available from all sorts of different tools and areas and use cases, because the sustainability report is not just a website that maybe some ESG raters or the employees access, but it is also a very important resource to look up something for an employee in the company and maybe quickly access on his phone or his or her phone which information they might need in a situation because they need to approve a text or they need to communicate about a specific project that they know is in the sustainability report, and then they can pull it up on their phone and provide it as an example in a meeting or when approving different texts.
Okay, we have an audience member with a few questions in one. Do you think digital reports will fully replace reports in form of PDF documents, and therefore also regulators and analysts would have to use them for their work and analysis? And because I would imagine it to be more difficult to search in such an interactive tool for all the relevant data for any in-depth analysis rather than searching in a PDF document, or will there be a separate forms of communications for analysts and regulators?
So maybe I'll start with a few words and then Eloy and Moritz can take over again. So first of all, there will be probably a kind of a learning phase when there might be a switch. So if you're used to use PDF documents all the time and then you open up your first online report, it might be at first glance unusual to use. But that being said, we do have search functions. So what you do in a PDF and as an analyst, you search for specific terms. You can do that in the online report as well, get the most relevant pages and get directly to those. We have lots of navigation features and very easy to use, easy to understand at the first glance navigation on the top of each website. So we are aware of analysts using the reports and being one of the most important user groups, of course, and therefore we do everything we can to make all information as easy findable as possible. So maybe if you're used to using PDF documents all the time and opening up your first online report, you might need a few minutes to get adjusted, but I think that's just a normal process, and I don't really see I don't know, a disadvantage of an online report in terms of findability of specific terms.
I would even say there was a big advantage. So maybe let me try to share my screen, because I would like to show you in practice in an example. I just opened the Adidas report. I hope you can see it now. So this is the PDF of the annual report of Adidas. So if people search, for example, for share, then it works like this. You need to search term by term until you get information about share. Share in a table, share in whatever. So before you come to the maybe chapter you are searching, you would need to skip a lot of different terms. This is how it works in a digital report. If I search for share, then I get the most important pages with the most keywords on this specific term in the report, namely the shareholders' equity in the notes and the our share chapter, which is maybe interesting for us. So digital reports have an intelligent search function instead of a PDF. And also regarding your question, I would say that in future, also analysts and maybe regulators will use digital reports. And especially they will also use them in form of the iXBRL reports, because iXBRL is also a XHTML-based format. And in future, reports will be machine readable, and especially analysts, which are a very small part of the user groups of annual and sustainability reports, will make use of these technical functions to read and analyze reports, in my opinion.
I don't really have anything to add, except that because it's such a usability focused, and I think the example of searching for a topic is perfect, because I know how much time I spend like clicking through PDFs to find the correct passage that I'm looking for, and to provide different keywords is not really possible in a PDF search. I think one of the things that's interesting to a digital sustainability report is that a lot of times the PDF is still downloadable as an option for someone who wants a PDF to store somewhere. So all the reports that we showed you as cases, you can still download as a PDF if you want to kind of register or keep an archive or something like that. You can still have it as a PDF if you prefer that. But the PDF gets generated out of the digital report, which has a much easier, quicker use for your phone, because PDFs on your phone are incredibly unreadable. You need to really like zoom in and everything. So all these functionalities that you have out of the PDF that you might like because you can download it and you can check the pages or something like that, you still have with the digital reports when you generate the PDF from the download section.
Okay, we have one last question. Any thoughts on how many different standards to try to map to? Should we try to do GRI, SASB, or TCFD, etc., as many as we can, or just pick one or two? Are there any tools that can help make this mapping easier?
That's a really hard question, because it depends on your focus markets, like which companies are your focus markets, which are your products. I think you never go wrong with picking GRI if you have to pick one, because that's the most common one that most people will understand. But if you have large exposure to capital market in the US, then SASB has become the de facto standard there, and TCFD is kind of a framework more focused on determining your climate risks. If you're production heavy and your production facilities are, a lot of them are in high risk areas, then TCFD is an incredibly important standard for you. If you are not involved that much with production facilities, or a lot of your infrastructure is not at high risk exposure for climate catastrophes such as flooding, etc., TCFD might not be that important to you. So determining the materiality or the most important topics for the company is really essential to understand where do you operate, how do you operate, what's your business model, and then determining which standards are actually the most relevant for you and which are ones that your stakeholders are requesting. Like, are your investors actively asking for a SASB? Is the UNGC, UN Global Compact, for you something that you really want to do? A lot of German companies, for example, fulfill the German sustainability code, the Deutscher Nachhaltigkeitskodex, but any foreign company would never think of that. And a lot of companies started with the German sustainability code as a reporting standard because it was very politically motivated to start with the German sustainability code. But today we would not recommend, unless it's very, very strongly pushed for or advocated by public affairs, to report according to the German sustainability code, because in our understanding, it does not sort the data in a way that GRI or SASB does. So it really depends on your individual business model, and there's advantages and disadvantages, but I would not say do all of them or do just one of them, but really look at how do you sort your information to fit best to your stakeholders' needs. And in mapping that is just kind of like a materiality analysis of what you're putting into the report, is understanding what are the most material standards and frameworks for you. So Ivana, you said that's the last question. I think we're close to noon now. We had over 70 participants, and almost all of them stuck around till the end, so that's really great. It shows kind of the interest on annual reporting and sustainability reporting that we've been seeing. So thank you so much for all of you for participating, and thank you also to Nexter for facilitating this talk. Eloy, Freddie, do you want to add something for the wrap up?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks again. Thanks also, Moritz. Get well soon, Sebastian, if you see this. And as I already said, we did record this webinar, so we will get back in touch to you probably beginning of next week with the link. You can also share it, of course, with colleagues if they might be interesting. And yeah, you'll hear from us next week. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us anytime, info@nexa.com, and I think office@stakeholderreporting.com, Moritz.
I think it's the other way around, info@stakeholderreporting.com and office@nexa.com, but
yeah, sure. Okay.
Whatever, it'll work. And also in the invitation and everywhere you can see our email addresses.
Okay, yeah, so that's correct now. I remember. Very nice. Perfect ending. So again, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend soon. And yeah, see you around.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.
Bye.